The story begins with a frantic man in an asylum. His name is Evan, and he is running from the guards. He finds a secret place under a desk and writes, "Save her." We then go 13 years into the past, with young Evan, who lives with his mother. Evan tells his mom that there is a special school presentation, and he hopes that his dad can come. It seems that there are some family issues, and the father is absent from his life. When his mom delivers him to school, his teacher demands to talk with her. It's revealed that Evan has drawn very disturbing drawings, but he can't remember them at all. His mom gets worried and decides to take him to get his head checked. And this is not the first time that this has happened. The doctor tells his mom that he should write a journal so he can remember situations and events if he forgets. Evan starts to use the journal more often, but he still has episodes. One time he even grabs a knife, scaring his mom in the process. And after that, he doesn't remember anything. His mom takes him to play with his two friends Tommy and Kaylee. Their father George promises to take good care of the kids while Evan's mom is at work. Evan is excited to meet up with his friends, but soon things take a turn for the worse. What Evan thought was going to be a regular day of playing with his friends turns into George abusing the children. Evan blacks out, and when he wakes up, George has taken off his clothes. Evan later goes to the doctor once more, and they don't find anything wrong with him. His mother decides to finally take him to see his father, who is a mental patient. Evan is excited, and he goes to talk with his father. Suddenly, his father attacks him, and he almost gets killed. But the guards accidentally kill his father, and this leaves Evan confused and sad. 6 years later, Evan is now a teenager, and his life is even more dysfunctional. He still gets episodes of amnesia, and he is very traumatized. Evan has developed a massive crush on Kaylee over the past few years, and still hangs out with her and Tommy. Also, they are joined by their friend, Lenny. They get into serious trouble when one day they use dynamite to blow up a mailbox. Evan blacks out again, and Lenny ends up in the mental hospital. It seems that they accidentally killed a mother and her daughter. Evan has no memory of it, but his amnesia episodes start to be a lot more frequent. One evening, he goes to the movies with Tommy and Kaylee. Evan expresses his feelings to Kaylee, but that makes Tommy furious, and he gets into a massive fight. Some time passes, and Lenny goes back home. Tommy decides to take revenge on Evan, so he burns his dog. Evan once again has an amnesia episode, and when he wakes up, he just sees a bloody Kaylee beside him. After this, Evan moved away with his mother. It's the present now, and Evan is in college. He is very smart and gets really good grades, but he is a social outcast. Evan has a great friend, and he wants to celebrate. Because he wasn't having a blackout for almost 7 years. He goes out with his friend, and they have a lot of fun at the bar. He even meets a cute girl, and brings her back to his dorm. The girl finds his diary, and Evan explains that he has been writing journals since he was only 7 years old. The girl wants him to read a section, and when he does, Evan gets transported into the past. More specifically, he transports himself to the day when Tommy burned his dog, and suddenly returns back into the present. He then decides to visit his hometown and goes to talk with Lenny. It seems that Lenny is still traumatized and hasn't left his house in years. Lenny attacks Evan, and shortly after that, Evan once again tries to travel back in time. This time he teleports himself to the day when they blew up the mailbox. Lenny was the one who put the dynamite in, and he was the one who totally lost his mind, seeing the mother and child die. When Evan returns from the past, he realizes that he might be able to affect it, or change it even. He goes to dinner with his mother, and they talk about his father. Evan wants to know more about him, and his mother seems to know that his father also had memory troubles. She also tells Evan that his father often said that he could travel in time. Later in the evening, Evan and his mom go to a psychic to have their palm read. When the psychic reads Evan's palm, she panics and tells him that he doesn't belong in this world, that he has no soul. This upsets his mother, and she later reveals that before Evan, she lost 2 pregnancies. And Evan has always been her miracle child. After a few days, Evan goes to visit his old friend Kaylee. She now works in a small diner and has a horrible life. And this was all caused by her traumatic childhood. Evan tries to ask Kaylee about their childhood and what happened in the basement with her father. Kaylee becomes really furious and tells Evan that he shouldn't have come back. She is still angry at him for leaving her and never coming back. Kaylee starts to cry and she runs away. Later in the evening, Evan returns back to his dorm room and wants to figure out how his father really time traveled. He then hears his voice machine and it's Tommy on the other end. He tells Evan that Kaylee just killed herself and it's all his fault. Evan goes to her funeral and sees her horrible father there as well. After that, Evan decides that he will change the timeline by any means necessary. Evan reads his journal and goes back to when they were in her father's basement. He is now in full control, threatens her father, and tells him to never touch his daughter again. Evan suddenly wakes up in a new reality he has now created. His head hurts and he has a massive nosebleed. Evan gets flooded with many new memories and wakes up in bed with Kaylee. They are now studying together and a real couple. They are both rich and have very comfortable lives. Evan takes a while to adjust, but he is happy in his new relationship. Things don't last as her brother Tommy is still a problem. Her father stopped abusing Kaylee, but he focused all of his attention on Tommy. And one evening, Tommy attacks Evan and Kaylee. Evan ends up killing Tommy and goes to prison. In prison, he has a hard time adapting, but meets a prisoner who tries to help him. At first, the prisoner doesn't believe Evan and his story, but when Evan proves it, the prisoner is amazed. Evan, with the help of another prisoner, manages to find his journal and travel in time once more to clean up his mess. He soon realizes that the blackouts he experienced as a child was him traveling back in time as he is doing now, and he once again travels back in time to the day when Tommy killed his dog. This once again totally fails, as now Lenny kills Tommy and ends up in an insane asylum. Kaylee also gets scared and has a horrible life. The nosebleeds that Evan has now are even worse. And also he has created an even worse timeline now. Evan tries to visit Lenny, but he is totally catatonic. Later, Evan goes to talk with Kaylee, but she hates him and tells him to get lost. Evan uses time travel several more times. He even visits his father on that day, and that is the reason his father attacked him. His father also had that power, but couldn't use it because he lost his photos. Evan tries to save the mom and her daughter, but ends up without any limbs. In this new timeline, he is also unhappy, and he decides to once again change it. His brain cannot take much more of it, as he is constantly putting too much stress on himself. Evan starts to think that maybe his powers are more of a curse, because every time he tries to fix the life of his friends, he ruins it. His mother is now also worried about him, as his condition is so much worse, and he decides to try once more to make things better. He returns to the basement and tries to attack George to save his girlfriend. He uses that dynamite to attack him, but Kaylee gets a hold of it. This ends up killing her, and Evan wakes up in a mental asylum. He has been here for years after killing Kaylee, and people in this reality don't believe him at all, and he is thought to be just as crazy as his father. The big problem in this new reality is that Evan's journal does not exist. So now, he has no way to time travel. Evan is now desperate as he has no way of saving himself. He goes to talk with his doctor. The doctor is sympathetic to Evan and wants to help him. He reveals that his father also thought he could travel time, but when he lost all his videos and photographs from the past, he was stuck. And since then, he was presumed to be mad. Evan then realizes that his trying to change the timeline has just caused more pain for himself and his friends. While he is changing the timeline, he is just making things worse with each time jump. Soon after that, we return to the start of the story. We see Evan escape from his hospital room, and he is now hiding from the guards. They soon find him in a room, and they start to break into the room. Evan is under the table and finds an old home movie that his parents made. In this home movie, he spots the day that he first met Kaylee when they were kids. Evan focuses all his power to travel back once more. He manages to time travel before the guards get to him. He then goes to Kaylee and tells her horrible things, and tells her that he will kill her if she doesn't stay away. Because of this, and after Kaylee's parents get divorced, she and Tommy go to live with her mother. This causes them to have a normal childhood, so they are far away from their abusive father, and they turn into healthy and happy adults. Evan loses Kaylee from his life, but he is also much happier. He continues to have a great relationship with his mother, and no horrible things happen in his childhood. Evan wakes up in a college dorm, and his nose once again bleeding. In this reality, he is actually roommates with Lenny, who is totally normal. Evan tells Lenny that Kaylee is around, and Lenny has no idea who that person is. Evan is happy because his plan finally worked. Not wanting to continue his curse, Evan decides to burn all the photographs and videos he has from the past. He knows who he is, and doesn't want to play with the timeline anymore. 8 years later, Evan is now successful and lives in New York. One day he leaves his office and he spots Kaylee in a crowd. For a moment they both stop, but soon they continue to walk their separate ways. Thanks for watching, take care, and see you in the next video.
Back in my bag and I gotta brag, I do this shit for real. When we was down and we had nothing, we had to share a meal. We put the shit in overdrive with no steering wheel.